as Ukraine has ignored Russia's demand. It gives up the city. Russia's demand it gives up the city of Mariupol by 5 a.m. Moscow time, saying there is no question of any surrender. Russia had offered to give civilians and fighters safe passage out of the city as long as they gave up their weapons. But Ukraine's government said Russia could not be trusted, pointing to attacks on civilians during previous evacuation attempts. Ukraine's president has also accused Russia of war crimes in Mariupol, where heavy fighting has now reached the city center. An estimated 90% of the city's buildings have been damaged or destroyed. About 300,000 people remain trapped without power or water and little food. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, 6 people are reported dead in shelling on the residential area and shopping center. We have more in this report.
8 people were killed and massive destruction was caused as a result of a missile attack on Podilsky district of Kyiv on Sunday evening. As a result of the shelling and fire, a shopping center was destroyed. Windows in nearby residential buildings and cars parked nearby were damaged.
25 days ago.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Prime Minister for the European and Euro-Atlantic integration of Ukraine said the situation in the country is growing more and more severe as the day passes. She alleged that Russia has committed nearly all possible war crimes that humanity has seen.
The situation is growing more and more severe, as I've been telling for a numerous time. More than 15 days of this resistance are the resistance of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian nation, who face severe attacks.
Elsewhere, speaking at the Conservative Party Spring Conference in Blackpool, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson appeared to compare the struggle for the Ukrainian people for freedom to the instinct of Britons who voted for Brexit. He also said the West must not make the mistake of normalizing relations with Russian President Vladimir Putin again after the invasion of Ukraine.
I know that it's the instinct of the people of this country, like the people of Ukraine, to choose freedom every time. I can give you a couple of famous recent examples. When the British people voted for Brexit in such large numbers, I don't believe it was because they were remotely hostile to foreigners. It's because they wanted to be free, to do things differently, and for this country to be able to run itself.
And across Europe, an informal group which claims to bring together the Ukrainian, Russian and Belarusian diaspora in Serbia organized a rally in support of Ukraine in Belgrade, as well as a protest speaking against dictatorship in Russia and Belarus. Similarly, across Germany and other parts of Europe, people with placards and different inscriptions were also expressing solidarity with Ukrainians and protesting against the war. Singing solidarity songs, German demonstrators sang the Give Peace a Chance during the protests in Germany and across Europe. In the meantime, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III met with Bulgarian Prime Minister Kirill Petkov and Minister of Defense Dragomir Rizikov in Sofia. The leaders noted transatlantic unity among NATO allies in responding to Russia's unjustified and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine.
Now it's important to me to be here in person at this critical moment to condemn Russia's reckless and ruthless aggression against a peaceful neighbor, and to underscore our support for the Ukrainian people.
And finally, on the update, up to 50,000 refugees have been arriving each day in the Polish town of Przemysl near the border with Ukraine, with hundreds more arriving at other frontier crossing points. Warsaw has thus far spent 1.6 billion euros to manage the influx of people escaping the Russian invasion. Hundreds of refugees, mainly women, children and the elderly, are also arriving every day at Medka, another Polish town on the border. Upon arrival, they are faced with 2 choices: to go to a warehouse transformed into an emergency shelter or continue to the neighboring town of Przemysl, where they can embark for other destinations. Poland has thus far spent 1.6 billion euros to manage the refugee emergency in the country.